What's that? Oh, that's a poor man's sound of a machine gun fire. Hi, I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick, and we're not going to talk about dating today. I know, it's shocking. I'm shocked. You're shocked. We're all shocked. First, I want to say thank you to everybody who has subscribed, which at the time of this recording is 14 people. I appreciate you. It doesn't do anything for me financially, right? Like it's only 14 people, but it does stroke my ego. And I am a man driven by his ego. And so I must say thank you. Thank you to all of you. If you want to join them, click the follow button or the subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, why not? Worst thing that happens is you just mute me. And that's a common reaction to people listening to my podcast, even though it's only 10 minutes long. But if you stick around, you leave me unmuted, I think you'll find something to enjoy. Now, why did I make a ridiculous machine gun sound when we started off today? Well, it's because today is 10 minutes on, I'm going to say guns, and I'm sure the internet will bleep me out later. YouTube will probably take this video down. So if you listen to this before YouTube takes it down, you're part of a special club. You don't get anything for being in the club, but you're part of it, and you know that, and that's good for the ego. Why am I doing 10 minutes on guns? Well, because I was watching NCIS, which is a show that I just like. It's not really a guilty pleasure because I'm a big fan of procedurals. I love the way they're written. I love the characters that come out of them. But you watch that show and you get exposed to a lot of gun violence. And, you know, it's like anything. People say, like, oh, the shows desensitize you to gun violence. But it also highlights some of the real dangers of guns. Shocking, I know, in a show where people actively get shot and injured. We're going to start off with a couple base assumptions here. Number one, I am a proponent of guns and gun law. What does that mean? I believe in the Second Amendment, and believing in it is one thing. Everybody has to believe in it because the words are written on the page. However, I do also believe that it is an individual right, but it is for a collective purpose, and you cannot view the individual right without also viewing the collective purpose. That's a long history lesson. Basically, put it this way. If you own a gun, you have the right to own a gun, but that gun ownership comes with responsibilities. And rights come with responsibilities all the time before anybody in like the red pill community comes after me and just ats me. Free speech has responsibilities. You have the responsibility to not yell fire in a crowded theater. You have a responsibility to not incite riots. You have the responsibility to not use your words to stalk somebody, to hurt, to harm somebody. You have a responsibility that is built into that right. It's no different for the Second Amendment. So there is a right. Second assumption, there are responsibilities tied to that right, and we'll get into some of those. Third, like all other rights, it is not unlimited. We should be able to agree on certain base things that the Second Amendment does not allow. For instance, the Second Amendment in no way, shape, or form allows you to own a machine gun, a fully automatic weapon. Why is that? Well, that is because there is no safe operation of a fully automatic weapon. Now, that's people want to argue that with me, they're wrong. It doesn't matter. A fully automatic weapon has no safe operation. What I mean by that is there is no way to hold that weapon, operate that weapon in such a way as to be able to use it responsibly. Perfect example is how the weapon is used in the military. A fully automatic weapon in the military is used as a weapon of cover, meaning it has no purpose in terms of, oh, I'm Rambo and I'm going to mow down an entire line of the enemy. No, it is specifically designed such that the enemy has no choice but to keep their heads down, which allows your troops to move in whatever way you're strategically trying to move them. It is a weapon used to cover movement. There is no equivalent application in the civilian world for that, because if you're the world's best marksman, you're going to hit your target with a fully automatic weapon 0.11 out of 100 times. That's not an accurate weapon. It is not a weapon it is not a weapon that can be or should be deployed in the civilian market. It is a pure weapon of war. Now, that being said, I'm going to disagree with now I've gotten the conservatives mad at me. Now I'm going to get the liberals mad at me. I disagree with liberals who say that, well, semi-automatic weapons are basically the same thing. Semi-automatic weapons are not the same as automatic weapons. And this is where we get in a lot of trouble when we start debating gun rights, because a semi-automatic weapon simply means that the gun reloads itself. It does not mean that it's a magical weapon that can fire, 100 rounds a minute. Yes, highly skilled people can maybe operate the weapon at a faster rate than a normal individual. But okay, so what? A highly skilled person could probably operate a bolt action rifle faster than a normal person. This is where we start to get into the question of, can these things be safely operated or not? Now, I will agree with the liberals on this. The end result of using a firearm is you are hurling a piece of metal at high speed across a distance towards a target. I'm saying that very clinically because I'm just making a point. That is the purpose of a gun once you've pulled the trigger. The actual purpose of the weapon, as I've talked about on the podcast that I'm still editing and will drop eventually with Mr. Josh Pickman of the British military, the actual purpose of a gun in the civilian market is the same as the purpose back when the Second Amendment was written, as an individual right for the collective good. It is a method of keeping peace when it is difficult, in times when it is difficult to do so. It is a deterrent effect. In the same way that you don't, it's not the same as, say, a mutually assured destruction. A mutually assured destruction is the idea that, well, we're both essentially just too scared to operate. It is actually, a mutually assured destruction is actually the chilling of society as you find other ways to get around that. The deterrent effect of a gun is meant to be, and again, philosophically and practically speaking, we can certainly disagree with this, especially in a country like the United States. The deterrent effect of the gun is supposed to be the keeping of peace such that individuals who carry understand and live out their responsibility to not only protect themselves, but to protect their neighbors, and to step in where government security is not able to or is slow to react. And unfortunately, no matter how good the police force is, and I've done research on better ways for the police to be able to act, but no matter how good a police force is, they are reactive, they are not proactive. The goal of the Second Amendment, when there was no police force, was to find a way to balance that out, was to find a way to have a proactive protection for the civilian population, both from criminals and from the government itself. Now, the government itself is a bit overstated in the modern world because, as I've talked about, the current country system is probably as good as we're going to get in terms of base level models that need to be upgraded. There's a lot of ways we need to upgrade it. I talked about intellectual rebellion and finding ways to improve the system, but the point remains that there was a great idea that has since been sort of run amok. Now, is any of this saying that there is any reason why we shouldn't be putting restrictions in place, common sense restrictions in place based on real world events? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We cannot exist in a world where what happens in this country happens. And it's not as simple as just saying, well, it's the mental illness in the country. Okay, well, how do we fix that then? I would be dedicating resources to mental illness treatment. And if we can't dedicate the resources to mental illness treatment, we have to look for the next option. And the next option is, honestly, finding ways to make it more difficult to purchase guns. It will make making guns more difficult to purchase, provided and again, courts would sort this out, but again, provided that it is not a functional banning of guns, making guns more difficult to purchase is a good first step. And it would simply, for those who have the ability to purchase guns now, most people who have the ability to purchase guns now, it would simply make their purchasing process longer. It wouldn't deny them the exercise of their right. Again, rights come with responsibilities. I could do another 10 minutes on another important responsibility that comes with the ownership of a firearm, which is the training of how to use the firearm. And that will be another podcast, another time. I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Thank you for subscribing. If you liked what you heard, drop a subscribe. If you didn't, feel free to send me a hate comment. Your words can't hurt me. They can. I'll cry. I'm Nick. Excuse me. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Have a great night.